Hey Lego fam, welcome back to the channel. This is Justin with Good Life Bricks, and I'm bringing you another review video today of a set that came out on October 1st. It is the Imperial Dropship versus Rebel Scout Speeder, set number 40755. Before we get started though, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to build something that people can find useful, informative, and entertaining. And in order to do that, I need subscribers. So if you would subscribe, that would allow me the opportunity to create more content and to continue to improve the look and the feel of every single video that I make. With that in mind, thank you very much, and let's dig in. This is set 40755, Imperial Dropship versus Rebel Scout Speeder. It comes with 7 minifigures, 383 pieces, and it was $40. Released on October 1st of 2024. This set is a new version of an older idea that dates all the way back to 2008 and has been redone multiple times, but never with both vehicles in the same set. So this is kind of a unique offering, and it actually comes with a unique item number, 40755. That's outside the norm of Lego's typical 75 numbering system. So it leads some to believe that this could be a short run or a limited time offering. I'm not sure. I don't know that that's been published anywhere, but it is at least something to note. One additional standout for this set is the inclusion of the 7th minifigure, QTKT. It's the pink astromech droid that has showed up in a couple different places, mostly in the animation portion of the Star Wars universe. And there is a remarkable story behind this droid, and I would encourage you to do a Google search on QT-KT. It is about the daughter of a huge Star Wars fan that got sick many years ago. So in honor of her, they created this droid. It's pretty cool. It's part of the 25th Collector's Edition. It is one of the 7 official minifigures. I call it 8 because Darth Maul was included in one of the Lego books that came out earlier in the year. So anyway, it's a cute little droid. It's a cool story, and it's worth checking out. So starting with the minifigures, there are 7 minifigures for the set. We already talked about QTKT. You've got 3 Rebel troopers and 3 Stormtroopers. Each of the troopers in this set are unique. You've got a male Rebel trooper, a female Rebel trooper, and another male Rebel trooper. And then the Stormtroopers, similar. You've got 1 female, 1 male, and another female. I just think this is pretty cool because not only is Lego including both male and female, but they're also doing a good job of creating different skin tones, which I think is amazing. Beyond that, though, the minifigures themselves are not necessarily unique. Stormtroopers have been around in this form for quite a while, as have the Rebel troopers. And it's great to have them. The more the merrier. Many people will use a set like this to do army building, and that's great. Again, like I said, the more of these sets that you have, the more you can do in terms of mocks. So getting into a little bit more detail. So one of the things I really like about these Stormtroopers is that their helmets are dual molded, which means basically when they're doing the injection molding, the plastics to create the helmet, they inject multiple colors over several phases into the mold to get this look. And you can see there's white and black, and it's not just paint, it's actual molded plastic. So I think that's pretty cool. The detail of these helmets is great. The feel of the helmet themselves, it doesn't feel like cheap plastic. I don't think Lego is cheap plastic. It certainly isn't cheap, but I think this just adds a little bit more value to sets like this, and I think it's really cool. The troopers have their typical helmet, and this is a 2-piece helmet. For those of you who haven't seen this trooper, this is a visor, and it just snaps into place, and it's there's a kind of a lip above and below it, so it doesn't have a lot of room to move. In fact, it doesn't move at all. But instead of being a dual molded, they just have a couple of different pieces here. Good back printing. No leg printing for the Rebel troopers, but the Stormtroopers all have leg printing and back printing as well. These are good looking figures, and I think somewhat comparable to some of the older similar figures, but I think probably a step up. So let's take a look at the vehicles. Starting with the Rebel Scout Speeder. This is a variation of a vehicle that's been around for quite some time. In a little bit, we're going to do a comparison with the 2008 version. And there's a number of improvements that have been made here, but also substantial changes. There's only 2 seats in the speeder itself, and then there's a gunner position. One of the cool things about this speeder is that the gun can come off and function as a standalone unit, and that leaves you the ability to still have 3 people in the speeder if you'd like to, but you can have 2 separate units then at that point. It has the clear rounded bottom plate that allows it to slide a little bit easier on a surface like this. It's not going to go on its own. It's not like as if it had wheels, but it makes it seem like it's just slightly off the ground, maybe hovering just a little bit, and still gives it a little bit of mobility. It's a nice vehicle. It's a solid vehicle. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart as you handle it. The gun can be put on and taken off fairly easily, one-handed even. So again, very reminiscent of past versions. You'll see they've added a better gun than what they've had in the past. And when we do our comparisons, we'll go over some of these types of things. A little more detailed. The gun can move up and down and spin side to side. So a lot of play features and functionality that people will enjoy if they play with their Legos, or if, like me, you display them. It just looks really cool. Moving on to the Imperial Dropship. Now this is a similar vehicle to what we've seen in the past, with some more modern changes and that type of thing. The last version of this, and the one that we'll be comparing this one with today, came from 2018. And while there are some similarities, I think there are probably more differences, and we'll take a look at that. One of the unique features of this playset is that the dropship portion of it, which would have a couple stormtroopers usually sitting right there, comes off. So that thus the drop ship. And because they only have 3 of each trooper, they only made enough room on the vehicles for 3 of each trooper. In the past, they could have up to 4 in some cases, and if the set called for it. And we'll take a look at that too. The cockpit opens. It's got a nice kind of cloudy, dark cockpit canopy, so you can't really see inside, and then just very basic interior. I love new Legos. They're always so bright and shiny, and this looks very nice. So together, these vehicles make up the set, and we'll do a little comparison with some older versions of the same thing. So for comparison's sake, I grabbed this older set 75262 Imperial Dropship from 2019. It's part of the 20th anniversary set, which is ironic given that we're comparing it to a 25th anniversary set. So it's about 5 years older. There's a total of 5 minifigures in this set. One of them is a 20-year anniversary of Han Solo. They gave him the older yellow skin and the smooth hairpiece, but then they also included 3 stormtroopers and an Imperial pilot. Now you might say to yourself, that set did not have those kind of guns, and that is true. The set came with these projectile shooting guns, and the stormtroopers each get one of those. I don't prefer to display those, so I leave them on the ship, and I give the stormtroopers the more modern version of the guns that they carry. In my Star Wars world, all the troopers get guns, and so even the pilot has his gun. But as we look at the ship and compare the ships, you can see that they are similar. but they're quite a bit different. The most stark, I think, differences are the very open canopy here, the open back end, and versus this very closed and more solid kind of build. And then the one other thing is that similar yet a little bit different. This is the dropship portion of it, where it has room for 3 stormtroopers. And that's probably why they made this the way that they did. This handle that connects it to the ship aims up, allowing there to be seating room for 2 stormtroopers here and 1 stormtrooper here. And then you just slide it back underneath, and it connects. It doesn't stay very well connected unless the wings are down, but that's okay. I mean, they're supposed to be down. And then as you look at the interior, there's not a lot of the interior here. The canopy folds open like that, and you see the console for the pilot. Very basic build, not a lot to it. This set has 117 pieces, so fairly limited, but I think you get the idea, and you can see how these 2 ships are similar in nature, even though they look quite a bit different. I prefer the new one. I think this one is looks like a more complete build. This is a nice ship, and again, serves its purpose. I just think this one looks a little bit nicer. I like the fact that you get 5 minifigures with this one, really 4 usable. One is more display. Like I said, the more the merrier, but the build itself I think is a little bit better in the 2024 version. So now let's bring in another set and we'll compare the Rebel Scout speeders. We brought in set 7668 from 2008. It had 4 minifigures and 73 total usable parts in the build. So this is a good looking Rebel speeder. It has similar front decals. It's similar in size, similar in length, and similar in height. Just like the other one, it has a gun placement that is removable, therefore opening up another seat if you so desired, or allowing your gunner to stay with the gun. The gun itself is on a swivel. It has one of those control sticks there, and I love making sure that it's actually in the trooper's hands. Again, very similar, as this also is removable. This gun can't go up and down, just side to side. So there are many more parts to this one, about double the number of parts, maybe a little bit more than that. And so it is a substantial build for its size. Feels very durable. This set doesn't feel as durable. It's much lighter. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily going to fall apart in your hands, but it doesn't feel quite as durable as the newer sets. But I think that's something I talk about all the time. Durability of the older sets is usually lacking. I wouldn't say that this is lacking. It just doesn't feel as substantial. But it is nice that it comes with 4 minifigures. And these are your typical trooper minifigures. The Rebel troopers have, for many years, a very similar look to them. So as we put the minifigures side by side, you can see there are a few differences. There's more printing on the newer version right here. The older one doesn't have the pockets, doesn't have the eyes with the pupils, but everything else looks very similar. Back printing on the newer version, no back printing on the older version. Similar helmet like I talked about earlier with the piece that rests in there. This helmet has not changed from 2008 all the way to today. One thing that I think is a little unique is they gave the newer troopers the silver guns versus the older troopers getting the more common black guns. So that's really it for our comparison. I think this 2008 Rebel Scout Speeder is a good build. I think it's got a number of similarities to the brand new one. I think the brand new one is a little bit better, like I said, from a durability perspective. The gun is a little bit more substantial as well, more pieces to it. It's a good build, and they're all of these sets. There's a total of 3 sets here. This is one set right here, this is its own set, and this is its own set. And so it's fun to be able to go back and look and say, okay, well, they used to sell these separately, and this year they sold these together. And I think $40 is a good price for a great set. I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend if you're going to get it, you take action, because I don't know how long it's going to be around. If it was a limited run, I just don't know that. Whenever they do something different with the item numbers, like in this particular case, set 40755, it just makes me think that it may not be a long-term set. So thank you for joining me for my review of set 40755, Imperial Dropship versus Rebel Scout Speeder from 2024. I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you were able to learn some things, and the comparison between past sets is something that you find fun and entertaining. I would ask you once again if you would please go ahead and subscribe, and if you liked the video, click the like button as well. I look forward to bringing you more content soon. I've got a couple more videos queued up, so I will see you then. Have a great day.